Flames devoured the only home I'd ever known in the dead of a Chicago winter night, turning 40 years of memories into ash and smoke. As sirens wailed and neighbors gathered in the snow-dusted street, my phone rang. Jackson, my only son. Dad, I heard about the fire. Sorry, but that's not my problem anymore. His words cut deeper than the cold. I hung up, staring at the inferno, until the fire investigators arrived with questions that would unravel everything we'd buried. If tales of shattered trust and the slow burn of healing speak to you, drop a comment below with if you've ever felt abandoned in your darkest hour. Your stories fuel these flames of hope. Welcome back to your ultimate destination for gripping revenge stories, family betrayals, shocking betrayals, and emotional justice. Subscribe now and join a community and tell us where you're watching from. Turn on the notification bell for our next story. Are you ready to witness the ultimate payback? Let's get started. I built my life on solid ground, or so I thought, brick by brick, like the houses I constructed before ZAHA construction swallowed my days whole. Born in that dusty village outside Lagos, dragged across an ocean to Chicago as a wide-eyed boy in '68, the name ZAHA was my anchor. Radiance, my father called it, even as American tongues twisted it into something foreign. But I made it shine. From basement bids to boardrooms overlooking the Loop, I turned sweat into steel beams, grief into a legacy. Grace, my Grace, kept the hearth warm through it all, until cancer stole her at 42, leaving me with Jackson, just 10, and a promise to never let him fall. That promise? It cost me. Sleepless nights on job sites, every bonus funneled into his future. A trust fund vesting at 35. The Hyde Park house paid off in full during the '08 crash when I sold my soul to keep the company afloat. Jackson was my light. Sharp as a tack, valedictorian at Kenwood, Wharton MBA, climbing corporate ladders in New York like he was born to it. I beamed at his calls, sent checks without question, flew out for his promotions. You're set for life, Dad, he'd say. Let me take care of you one day. But one day stretched thin. After Grace's 10th anniversary, when I asked him to join the quiet graveside dinner, he texted, "Stuck at work, Dad. Rain check?" The rain checks piled up, birthdays skipped for deals, holidays traded for Hamptons weekends with his fiancée, then ex, then revolving door of important friends. By 40, he was back in Chicago, a vice president at a fintech firm, living in a Lincoln Park loft that screamed success but echoed empty. That I saw the shift in his eyes at Christmas 3 years back. We sat by the fire in my living room. Same one Grace decorated with those tacky glass ornaments from her first trip to Navy Pier. Jackson swirled his scotch, gaze flicking to the faded photos on the mantel. Him as a gap-toothed kid on my shoulders at a Bears game. Grace laughing in a sundress. "Dad," he said, casual as a weather report. "The house, it's old. Wiring's probably shot. You ever think about selling? Downsizing? I could help you find something modern. Assisted living. Even nice places with pools." I laughed it off. This old girl's seen us through worse than faulty wires. Besides, it's yours one day. In the trust. He smiled, but it didn't reach his eyes. "Yeah, about that. Wharton taught me diversification. Maybe liquidate some assets. Stocks, not sticks. Sticks. Like the home where I'd rocked him through colic, taught him to ride a bike on the cracked driveway, buried Grace's ashes in the backyard rose garden under moonlight. I let it slide. Sons grow independent. Fathers let go, but the calls grew shorter. Visits? Once a quarter, always with an agenda. "Dad, sign this power of attorney, just in case." Or, "The company's shares, maybe I should manage them now." I signed nothing. The trust was ironclad. Full control at 35, but only if he proved steady. No red flags like the gambling debts I'd quietly paid off twice, or the DUI expunged with my lawyer's pull. Last summer, it cracked wide. Jackson showed up unannounced. "Ty askew, reeking of bourbon. Girlfriend dumped me. Need a place to crash." He stayed a week, raiding the fridge, scrolling his phone through dinners. One night, over Grace's chicken stew, he unloaded. "You're holding me back, Dad. That trust? It's a chain. I could flip properties, invest big, if you just loosen the reins." I set my fork down. "The reins are for protection, son. Yours and mine. Remember the recession? I lost the cabin so you wouldn't lose this roof." He waved it off. "That was you. I'm different. Smarter. Let me prove it. I didn't. He left the next day with a slammed door and a text. Call when you're ready to trust me. Silence followed. 6 months. My 80th loomed. No, 68th, but birthdays blurred. I filled days with the company. Now ZAHA Enterprises, $200 million portfolio. But nights? The house creaked alone. I'd sit in Grace's armchair, fingering her scarf, wondering if radiance dimmed with age. Then, January 15th, 2:17 a.m. The smoke alarm's shriek yanked me from sleep. I stumbled downstairs, coughing, flames already licking the kitchen cabinets, greedy orange tongues devouring the oak I'd sanded myself. Photos curled, curtains ignited like fuses. I grabbed the garden hose from the back, but the cold froze the nozzle solid. Sirens wailed distant, then close. Neighbors poured out. Mrs. Patel from next door screaming my name. The retired cop across the street yelling for me to get cleared. I stood in the snow, barefoot in pajamas, watching my world burn. 40 years. Grace's recipe cards charring. Jackson's high school trophies melting. The rose garden's trellis collapsing in sparks. Firefighters battled it 2 hours. By dawn, the house was a blackened skeleton, steam rising like ghosts. That MY phone buzzed in my pocket. Insurance adjuster. Then a cousin offering a couch. Then Jackson. I answered on the third ring, voice raw. Son, it's gone. The house, everything. Pause. Static? Or hesitation? Dad, shit. I saw it on the news app. Arson. They saying arson. Not yet. Just gone. Another beat. Look, I'm sorry. But you've been talking about downsizing forever. Silver lining? Insurance'll cover a nice condo. Start fresh. My chest hollowed. Fresh? This was your mother's home. Our home. Yeah, well. His sigh crackled the line. That's in the past, Dad. And honestly, not my problem anymore. I've got my own fires. Big merger closing. Can't drop everything. Figure it out. Call your lawyer, or whatever. Clicked out. I stared at the phone, snow melting into my socks. Not my problem. After every check I'd cut, every door I'd opened. The man who'd raised him, now a problem to solve alone. Fire trucks idled. Investigators arrived as the sun crested, 2 in heavy coats, clipboards in gloved hands. Lead guy, Detective Hale, mid-40s, salt and pepper beard, extended a hand. Mr. ZAHA? Sorry for the circumstances. Quick questions while it's fresh. I nodded numbly. They poked at the ruins, flashlights probing soot. Any enemies? Recent disputes? Insurance policy up to date. Enemies? No. Disputes. Jackson's face flashed. Family stuff. Nothing violent. Hale jotted notes. His partner, a younger woman named Ruiz, knelt by the garage remains. Huh. Electrical fault, maybe. But this accelerant smell? Gasoline? Odd pattern here. Accelerant. The word hung. Hale straightened. We'll know more after forensics. But Mr. ZAHA, you got someone to stay with? This could take time. I thought of Jackson's loft, cold marble, city views. I'll manage. As they drove off, I sifted ashes alone. A half-melted photo surfaced. Jackson, 5, grinning toothless beside Grace and me at the dining table. I pocketed it. That night, on my cousin's lumpy couch in Englewood, I called my lawyer. The trust, review it. And Jackson's access. Everything. Revenge? Not yet. But truth, that I'd chase, ember by ember. Readers ache with Mr. ZAHA's quiet devastation, the weight of unspoken sacrifices and a son's cold dismissal, building empathy for the betrayal to come. If this setup of a father's enduring love clashing with a son's indifference pulled at your heartstrings, comment your thoughts below. Have you ever rebuilt from ashes, literal or not? Share below. Your resilience inspires. The fire investigators returned 3 days later, while I was still sleeping on my cousin Ade's pull-out couch in Englewood, waking every hour to the phantom smell of smoke clinging to my skin. Ade had given me his bedroom, insisted on it, but I refused. I couldn't take more from family than I already had. Instead, I lay on the lumpy cushions staring at water stains on the ceiling, replaying Jackson's voice on loop. Not my problem anymore. At 10:42 a.m., my phone buzzed with an unknown number. Detective Hale. Mr. ZAHA, we need you at the site. Got preliminary results. Bring any recent photos of the house interior if you have them, especially the kitchen and garage. I borrowed Ade's old Ford pickup, the one he used for hauling landscaping jobs. and drove back to Hyde Park. The street looked wrong without my house standing sentinel at the corner. Now just a charred rectangle framed by yellow caution tape. Black skeletons of beams poking through snow like broken fingers. Neighbors had left flowers and candles at the curb. Mrs. Patel's handwritten card read, "We miss your light already, Mr. ZAHA." I pocketed it before the wind could steal it. Hale and Ruiz waited by their unmarked sedan. Hale's face was graver than before. "Thanks for coming so quick," he said, shaking my hand. "Walk with us." We ducked under the tape. The air still stank. Wet ash, melted plastic, something chemical and wrong. My shoes crunched over glass and debris. They led me to what used to be the garage, now a crater of collapsed roof and twisted metal. Ruiz pointed to a scorched patch near where my old toolbox had Saturday. We pulled accelerant samples. Gasoline. High octane. Not from your lawn mower or any vehicle you owned. Pattern suggests it was poured in a deliberate line from the side door, across the floor, up the wall toward the kitchen pass-through. Electrical fire? No. This was set. Arson. The word landed like a brick to the sternum. I stared at the black trail, picturing flames racing toward Grace's kitchen, toward the table where we'd eaten Sunday rice for decades. Who? My voice came out hoarse. Hale exhaled steam into the cold. That's what we're figuring. Any recent threats? Insurance disputes? Family disagreements? Jackson's face flashed, his bourbon breath, his slammed door, his casual, "not my problem," I swallowed. My son, Jackson ZAHA. We argued 6 months ago. About money. The trust fund I set up for him. He wanted control sooner. I said no. Ruiz jotted notes. How heated. He left angry. Haven't spoken since, except the night of the fire. I called him when it started. He said it wasn't his problem anymore. Hale's eyes narrowed. He knew about the house wiring? Any vulnerabilities? Everyone knew. I joked about it being vintage. He'd stayed there last summer. Knew the layout. Knew I kept spare gas cans in the garage for the snowblower. Silence stretched. A crow cawed overhead. We'll need to speak with him, Hale said. Formally. Today, if possible. I nodded. I'll call him. Tell him it's urgent. They gave me privacy near the curb. My fingers shook as I dialed. Jackson picked up on the second ring. Dad, you okay? Still at AIDS. Investigators say arson. Gasoline. Deliberate. A long pause. Wind whistled through the phone. Jesus. That's insane. You think it was kids? Gang stuff from the south side creeping north. No, I said quietly. They want to talk to you. About our argument. About you knowing the house. Another beat. What the hell, Dad? You're pointing fingers at me. I'm not pointing. I'm telling you what they asked. He laughed. Short, sharp, bitter. Convenient. You finally get burned out of your precious old house. And suddenly I'm the villain? Maybe it's karma for holding my future hostage with that trust bullshit. Jackson, no. Listen, I'm not coming down there to play suspect in your little drama. I've got a board meeting in 30. Handle it. Like you always handle everything. Alone. He hung up. I stood frozen, snowflakes melting on my lashes. Hale approached slowly. He's not coming, I said. Says he's busy. Ruiz exchanged a look with Hale. We'll subpoena if we have to. But Mr. ZAHA, we pulled security footage from the neighbor's Ring camera. Timestamp 1:48 a.m., 2 hours before the alarm. A man, approximately 6'1", athletic build, dark coat, hoodie up. Walks up the driveway, carries a red gas can. Same model you told us you kept in the garage. He pours, lights, walks away calm. Face isn't clear, but the gait, we'll compare. My knees nearly buckled. You think it's him? We don't think anything yet, Hale said carefully. But we need his cooperation. Or his prints. Or his shoes. Something. I stared at the ruins. The rose garden, Grace's roses, now just blackened stubs under ash. I thought of her laughing as she planted them, dirt on her cheeks, telling me, these will outlive us both, love. Radiance that keeps blooming. I pulled out my phone again. This time I texted Jackson. They have footage. A man with a gas can. Same as the one in the garage. They want your prints, your shoes, your statement. Come now, or they come to you. This isn't going away. Point 3 dots appeared. Disappeared. Appeared again. Then, fine. I'll be there in an hour. But this is bullshit and you know it. That he arrived in his black Audi, still wearing the charcoal suit from whatever boardroom he'd escaped. No coat. Probably left it in the car. His face was pale, jaw set, but his eyes darted to the caution tape, The investigators, me. Hale stepped forward. Mr. Jackson, ZAHA? Yeah. We'd like to speak privately. At the station. Voluntary for now. Jackson glanced at me. Something raw flickering there, gone in an instant. Dad, you really believe this? I believe the truth will come out, I said. Whatever it is. They took him in the back of the unmarked car. I followed in Aid's truck, heart hammering at the 21st District Station. They separated us. I waited in a plastic chair that smelled of bleach and old coffee. 2 hours passed. Ruiz came out once, offered water. I declined. When Jackson finally emerged, he looked smaller, tie loosened, sleeves rolled, hair mussed. Hale walked behind him. He's free to go, Hale said. For now. We took prints, photos of his shoes, a DNA swab, voluntary. He's cooperating. Jackson stopped in front of me. His voice was low, almost a whisper. They asked if I hated you enough to burn your house down. I told them no, but they kept pushing. Family money. Inheritance disputes. I told them about the trust. About how you won't let go. He laughed hollow. They asked if I'd been to the house recently. I said yes, last summer. When I asked you to trust me. You remember that night? I left angry. But I didn't come back with gasoline, Dad. I swear. His eyes searched mine, pleading, furious, terrified. Then why run? I asked. Why say it wasn't your problem? Because, he looked away. Because I was ashamed. Of how I treated you. Of the gambling again, small this time, but debts piling. Of asking for money I didn't earn. I thought if I kept distance, it wouldn't hurt as much when you finally cut me off. He met my gaze again. But I didn't burn your house. I love that place. Mom's roses. The porch where we watch fireworks. I couldn't face being the son who failed you. Tears welled. He blinked them back. Hale cleared his throat. We're still working the footage. Tech's enhancing it. If it's not him, we'll know soon. But Mr. ZAHA, someone did this. And they knew the house. Knew you'd be asleep upstairs. Jackson turned to Hale. Check my phone. My location history. I was in Lincoln Park all night. Work late, then home. Girlfriend can confirm. Ex-girlfriend. Whatever. Hale nodded. We will. Jackson looked back at me. Dad, I'm sorry. For everything before the fire. For the words on the phone. I was scared. Still am. I didn't answer right away. The station hummed around us. Phones ringing. Officers passing. Fluorescent lights buzzing. Finally I said, come to Aid's tonight. We talk. Really talk. No running. He nodded, slow, defeated. Okay. As he walked to his car, shoulders hunched against the wind, my phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. Check your mail tomorrow. You'll want to see what your perfect son has been hiding. I stared at the screen. Anonymous. Block number. The investigators were still inside. I showed Ruiz the message. Her eyes narrowed. Forward it to us. And Mr. ZAHA, don't go anywhere alone tonight. I drove back to Inglewood in silence, snow falling heavier now. Jackson's Audi followed at a distance, close enough to see, far enough to keep spaced. Aids. I waited on the porch steps. Jackson parked, sat in his car a full minute before getting out. That he climbed the steps slowly. I didn't do it, he said again. I know, I answered. And strangely I did. The boy in front of me, shivering, eyes red, wasn't an arsonist. He was a man drowning in his own mistakes. But someone had lit that match. And the truth was only beginning to burn. If this gut-wrenching reveal, Arson confirmed, a son's desperate denial, and the shadow of deeper secrets. Has your heart racing? Comment your thoughts below. Would you believe your child in a moment like this? Or has betrayal ever made you question everything? Share honestly. Your words help light the way forward. The anonymous text sat like a live coal in my pocket all the way back to Aid's house. I didn't open my mail that night. Couldn't bring myself to. Instead, Jackson and I sat at Aid's scarred kitchen table under a single bare bulb, 2 mugs of instant coffee cooling between us. Ade had tactfully gone to bed early, leaving us the small living room and the weight of everything unsaid. Jackson stared into his mug like it held answers. His suit jacket hung over the back of the chair, sleeves still rolled from the police station. He looked 10 years older than his 41 years. I didn't do it, Dad. He repeated for the 3rd time since we'd sat down. I swear on Mom's grave. I believed him. Not because the evidence was ironclad, footage enhancement could take days, location data could be faked, but because I knew my son. The boy who once cried when a stray cat got hit on 55th Street wouldn't torch the only place that still smelled faintly of Grace's perfume in the upstairs hallway. The man in front of me was broken, not cruel, but belief didn't erase the hurt. Then who? I asked quietly. Someone knew the house. Knew I kept gas cans in the garage. Knew I sleep heavy and wouldn't wake until smoke choked me. Jackson rubbed his face. I don't know. Maybe one of your old subcontractors? Someone you fired? The company's big now. People get resentful. Possible, I conceded. But the timing. Right after our fight. Right after you said the house was holding you back. He winced. I know how it looks. I was angry. I said stupid things. But anger isn't gasoline, Dad. Silence settled again. Thick as the soot still clinging to my skin that I pulled out my phone, opened the anonymous text, and turned the screen toward him. Check your mail tomorrow, I read aloud. You'll want to see what your perfect son has been hiding. Jackson's eyes widened. What the hell is that? Got it right after you left the station. Number blocked. He reached for the phone. I let him scroll. His face drained of color. That's not me, he whispered. Whatever they're sending, it's not me. Then we wait, I said. And we face it together. He nodded slowly. Together. That night, I slept on the couch again, phone clutched in my hand. Jackson crashed in the guest room. Bare mattress, no sheets. I heard him pacing until 3 a.m. morning came gray and bitter. Ade made eggs and plantains, trying to keep things normal. Jackson barely ate. At 9:17, my mailbox app pinged. Certified mail notification from the post office. Someone had dropped an envelope at the Hyde Park station for pickup. I drove there alone. Jackson wanted to come. I told him no. If it's bad, I see it first. The clerk handed me a plain manila envelope. No return address. My name typed in block letters. Inside, a single flash drive and a printed note. Passwords. Jackson Z 2023/Grace 4 Ever Watch Alone. Then decide if he's still your son. My hands shook as I drove back to AIDS. Jackson waited on the porch steps, coatless in the cold. What is it? He asked. A drive. And instructions to watch alone. His face crumpled. Dad, don't. Whatever's on there, it's a setup. Someone's trying to tear us apart. Maybe, I said. But hiding won't make it disappear. We went inside. Ade was at work. The house was quiet except for the furnace clicking. I plugged the drive into Ade's ancient laptop on the kitchen table. Jackson sat across from me, elbows on knees, head bowed. The folder opened. One video file. Truth.mp4. I clicked play. Grainy security footage, timestamped 6 months ago, from a convenience store camera near Jackson's Lincoln Park loft. Night. Jackson enters, hood up, buys a pack of cigarettes and a red plastic gas can. The exact model I kept in my garage. He pays cash. The clerk's face is blurred, but Jackson's isn't. Clear profile. Same jawline. Same walk. Next clip. Another angle outside. Jackson places the can in his Audi trunk, looks around once, drives off, then still photos, bank statements. Withdrawals. $5,000 here. $8,000 there. Labeled miscellaneous. Over 6 months. Nearly $60,000. Matches the gambling debts he'd sworn were small this time. Final file. A screenshot of text between Jackson and an unknown number. Jackson. Need cash fast. Old man won't budge on trust. Unknown. You know what to do. Fire cleans everything. Insurance pays. You get your cut early. Jackson. Not sure. He's my dad. Unknown. He's holding you hostage. Do it or lose everything. We'll make it look clean. No reply from Jackson. But 3 days later, another withdrawal. $2,000 cash. The video ended. Jackson hadn't moved. Tears streamed down his face. Silent. I closed the laptop. The kitchen clock ticked too loud. Explain, I said. My voice sounded distant, like it belonged to someone else. He looked up. Eyes red, pleading. The gas can. I bought it for my snowblower. The loft has underground parking. No storage. I kept it in the trunk for a week, then brought it to your garage when I stayed last summer. You saw me put it there, remember? I asked if I could store it because my building banned flammables. I did remember. He'd carried it in, sheepish. Just temporary, Dad. The withdrawals, he swallowed. Gambling again. Online sports. I thought I could win it back. I couldn't. The texts. I never answered that last one. I blocked the number the next day. I swear, Dad. I never agreed to anything. But you considered it. I said quietly. He nodded once, small, broken. For one night. One stupid, desperate night. I sat in my car outside your house at 2 a.m. thinking about it. The trust. The money. How free I'd feel. I even popped the trunk, looked at the can. Then I remembered Mom. How she'd look at me if she knew. I drove away. Cried the whole way home. Why didn't you tell me? Because I was ashamed. Because every time I tried to be better, I failed. Because I thought if you knew how bad it got, you'd finally cut me off for good. I stared at the closed laptop. Someone filmed you buying the can. Someone knew about the debts. Someone sent this. Jackson wiped his face roughly. The bookie? One of his guys? They've been pressuring me for months. Said they'd expose me if I didn't pay. I thought they were bluffing. I stood. Walked to the window. Snow fell again. Soft. Relentless. You almost did it, I said. Not accusation. Statement. I almost did, he whispered. But I didn't. The difference felt razor thin that I turned back to him. The investigators need to see this. The drive. The texts. Everything. He nodded. I know. And the trust, I paused. It stays locked. Until you prove, really prove, you're done gambling. Counseling. Accountability. No shortcuts. Tears spilled again. I'll do it. Whatever it takes. We sat in silence another hour. Then I called Detective Hale that he met us at the station within the hour. We handed over the drive, explained the anonymous text, the store footage. Hale watched the video in another room. Came back grim. This complicates things, he said. The gas can purchase matches our suspect's actions. But if your son's story checks, location data, block number, we can trace the bookie. Extortion. Conspiracy to commit arson. If they set the fire to frame him or force payment. He looked at Jackson. You're still a person of interest. Don't leave the city. Jackson nodded. I won't run. Hale turned to me. Mr. ZAHA, you okay? I wasn't. But I said, we'll get through it. Back at AIDS, Jackson packed a small bag. I'm checking into a hotel. Give you space. No, I said. Stay? We face this here. He looked at me, searching for the catch. I'm angry, I told him. Hurt. Betrayed. But you're still my son. And right now, you need someone who won't let you drown. He broke then, sobs shaking his shoulders. I pulled him close. He clung like he had at 10. When nightmares woke him screaming for grace, we cried together on Aid's couch. Ugly, raw, necessary. Later, when he slept, exhausted, curled on the pullout, I sat at the kitchen table with my phone. I opened the trust documents on my lawyer's secure portal. I added a new clause that if Jackson completed 12 months of verified sobriety / gambling abstinence, therapy reports, financial transparency, the vesting age dropped to 33. Early release. Not forgiveness. Opportunity that I saved it. Didn't tell him yet. Outside, snow blanketed the city, clean over the scars. The fire had taken my home, but not my hope. Not yet. Jackson stirred in his sleep, murmured, Mom. I covered him with an extra blanket. We weren't healed. Not close. But we were together, and that was the first real ember of light in weeks. If this chapter, where betrayal deepens into confession, shame collides with love, and a father chooses to hold on instead of let go, stirred something in you, comment your thoughts below. Have you ever faced a loved one's darkest secret and still chosen to stay? Or walked away? No judgment here, just real stories. Your honesty keeps these fires burning toward redemption. The next 48 hours blurred into a tense, snowbound limbo. Detective Hale called twice daily with updates. The convenience store footage matched Jackson's purchase date, but the timestamp on the arson night showed no Audi in the area. His location pings placed him firmly in Lincoln Park from midnight until 4 a.m. The bookie's number traced to a burner registered in Gary, Indiana. They were working with state police to pull records. The anonymous sender? IP routed through a VPN in Eastern Europe. Professional, not amateur. Someone wanted maximum damage with minimal traceability. That I spent those days at AIDS, fielding insurance calls, sorting through what little survived the fire. A scorched metal box with Grace's wedding ring and a few singed photos, and watching Jackson unravel quietly. He didn't leave the house much. Mostly sat on the porch steps smoking the cigarettes he'd sworn off years ago, staring at the street like it might deliver answers. When he spoke, it was in fragments. I should have told you about the debts sooner. I hate who I became. What if they never find who really did it? I didn't push. Forgiveness isn't a switch, it's a slow thaw. But I did start small rituals. Every evening, we cooked together. Simple things. Egusi soup from memory, plantains fried in the skillet ade kept spotless. Jackson chopped onions until his eyes watered, then laughed at himself. Mom used to say tears make the food better. I nodded. She was right. On the third morning, Hale's call came at 7:14 a.m. Mr. ZAHA, we've got a break. The bookie, name's Victor Malinowski, sang after we leaned on his parole officer. He admits pressuring Jackson for months. Threatened to send compromising photos to his employer, to you. But he swears he didn't set the fire. Said he hired a cleaner to scare Jackson into paying faster. Someone who'd make it look like an accident, collect insurance, split the payout. The cleaner got greedy. Lit it bigger than planned. My grip tightened on the phone. Who's the cleaner? Name's Darius Reed. Ex-con. Works odd jobs for Malinowski's crew. We pulled his photo from DMV. Matches the hooded figure on your neighbor's ring cam. Same height. Same limp from an old knee injury. We're picking him up today. Wanted you and Jackson to come to the station. Identification lineup. If you can ID him, we charge arson, attempted murder, conspiracy. Jackson overheard. His face went gray. I know Reed. He delivered packages for Malinowski. Came to my loft twice. Threatened me in person once. Said if I didn't pay by end of month, things would heat up. I thought it was bluff. I looked at him. You never told me. I was protecting you, he said bitterly. From knowing how deep I'd sunk. We drove to the 21st District in silence. Snow had stopped. The streets glistened wet and treacherous. Jackson's hands shook on the wheel. I placed mine over his for a moment. He didn't pull away. At the station, Hale led us to an observation room. One-way glass. 5 men stood in lineup. All mid-30s, similar build, hoods pulled low for simulation. Reed was number 3, scar on his left cheek, slight limp when he shifted weight. I recognized him instantly. The way he stood, cocky, shoulders rolled back. The same posture from the ring footage. Jackson inhaled sharply. That's him. Number 3. Hale nodded. Positive. Positive. They brought Reed into an interview room. We watched through the glass as Hale and Ruiz questioned him. He lawyered up fast, but not before smirking once, at the mirror, as if he knew we were there. After 30 minutes, Hale emerged. He's talking, limited immunity for full cooperation. Confirms Malinowski hired him to send a message. Said the plan was a small kitchen fire, scare the old man into selling the house quick. Jackson gets insurance money, pays debts. But Reed got carried away, poured too much, wind caught it. House went up fast. He panicked, ran. Jackson sagged against the wall. Attempted murder. Because of me. Hale looked at him evenly. Because of greed. Not you. But your debts gave them leverage. You're a witness now, not a suspect. We'll need your full statement. Everything about the gambling, the threats. No charges against you if you cooperate fully. Jackson nodded. I'll tell it all. We spent the next 4 hours in separate rooms. I gave my statement first. The arguments, the trust, the phone call the night of the fire. Then Jackson. I waited in the hallway, hearing fragments through the door, his voice cracking on, I considered it, for one night. Then steadying as he detailed every call from Malinowski, every threat from Reed. When he finally emerged, eyes bloodshot, he walked straight to me. They're charging Reed with arson 1, attempted murder, conspiracy. Malinowski with solicitation and conspiracy. Bail hearing tomorrow. I exhaled. It's over. Not yet, he said quietly. Not for us. We drove back to Aids in the gathering dusk. Streetlights flickered on, painting the snow orange. Jackson pulled into the driveway but didn't turn off the engine. Dad, he said, staring straight ahead. I need to say this before I lose my nerve. I waited. I almost destroyed everything. Not the house, the trust between us. I let debt and pride turn me into someone who could even think about hurting you. I stood outside your house that night, kin in the trunk, and for 10 minutes I imagined lighting it. Imagined the money solving everything. Then I saw the porch light, the one you left on every night since Mom died, like you were still waiting for me to come home. I couldn't do it, but I didn't stop the people who did. Tears tracked down his face. I'm not asking forgiveness yet. I don't deserve it, but I'm asking for a chance to earn it. I quit the job today, resigned. Too many temptations, too many late nights. I'm checking into a residential program tomorrow, gambling addiction, therapy, financial counseling. 90 days inpatient. After that, I want to work for you. At ZAHA Enterprises. Not as heir. As an employee. Start at the bottom. Learn the business the way you did. Prove I can build instead of burn. He finally looked at me. And if you say no, if you want me gone forever, I'll go. But know this, I love you. I always have. Even when I acted like I didn't. The words hung between us, fragile as new ice that I reached over, turned off the engine. Silence filled the car. Then I spoke. When Grace was dying, she made me promise 2 things. 1, keep you safe. 2, never stop loving you, no matter how far you wandered. I've kept the second promise every day, even the days I wanted to hate you. The first one, I failed. I protected the money, the house, the name, but not your heart. I should have seen the cracks sooner. Should have dragged you to help instead of waiting for you to ask. I turned to face him fully. You don't have to earn my love, Jackson. You already have it. But you do have to earn your own respect. And that starts with the choices you make now. I pulled the revised trust amendment from my coat pocket, the one I'd printed that morning. I changed it. Vesting at 33 instead of 35. If you complete the program, stay clean, work honestly for a year. Not a gift. A ladder. Climb it. He took the paper with trembling hands. Read it. Looked up. You'd still trust me with the company? I'd trust you with our name, I said. Because names like ours don't quit. They rebuild. He broke then, great, heaving sobs. I pulled him across the console into a hug, awkward in the car, but fierce. He clung like a drowning man. When the storm passed, he whispered against my shoulder, "Thank you, Dad, for not letting go." We sat there until the windows fogged. Later, inside Ade's warm kitchen, we ate leftovers and planned. Jackson would start the program Monday. I'd visit every weekend. When he got out, he'd move into Ade's spare room, rent-free, but chores and accountability required. Then, slowly, back to the company. Site assistant, learning blueprints, shadowing foreman. Before bed, Jackson pulled something from his bag, a small, scorched tin box he'd salvaged from the ruins. Inside, Grace's wedding ring, blackened but intact, and the half-melted photo of us 3 at the dining table. He placed the ring in my palm. "I kept it safe," he said, "even when I couldn't keep anything else." I slipped it onto my pinky, where Grace used to wear it when her hands swelled. It fit perfectly. "We'll rebuild the house," I told him. "Not the same. Better. With a bigger porch, a garden for new roses, and a room for you, whenever you need it." He smiled, small, tentative, real. Together? Together. We hugged again, longer, quieter. Outside, snow fell fresh over the city's scars. Somewhere, investigators were booking Reed and Malinowski. The fire had taken a home, but it hadn't taken us. And in that moment, father and son standing in a borrowed kitchen, ring on my finger, future on the horizon, I felt the first true warmth since the flames died, radiance returning, one fragile spark at a time. If this peak moment, where confession meets mercy, where a son chooses redemption over ruin, and a father opens his hand instead of closing his fist, left you breathless, comment your thoughts below. Have you ever witnessed or experienced the exact second someone chose to turn back instead of keep running? What did it feel like? Your stories are the light in these dark nights. The snow kept falling for 3 more days after the lineup, blanketing Chicago in a hush that felt almost merciful. Reed and Malinowski were denied bail, too much flight risk, too many priors, and the DA moved fast. Conspiracy charges stuck like wet cement. Attempted murder carried the heaviest weight. The news ran small segments. Southside bookie ring linked to Hyde Park arson, with my name mentioned once in passing as the homeowner, a prominent local businessman. I turned off the TV after that. Some stories you don't need to watch twice. Jackson checked into the residential treatment center in Evanston on Monday morning. 90 days, no visitors the first 2 weeks except family phone calls. I drove him there myself in Ade's truck, the back seat holding a duffel of clothes, a Bible Grace had given him at 16, and the scorched tin box with her ring and our photo. He was quiet the whole ride, fingers drumming the door handle, eyes on the passing lake. When we pulled into the parking lot, a low brick building with frost-rimmed windows and a small sign reading New Beginnings Recovery Campus, he didn't move at first. "Dad," he said finally, "if I mess this up." "You won't," I cut in gently. "But if you stumble, you call. You come home. No shame in falling as long as you get back up." He looked at me, really looked. "You mean that?" "Every word." He hugged me across the console, tight, wordless, then grabbed his bag and walked inside without looking back. I sat in the truck until the door closed behind him, snow collecting on the windshield, blurring the world. Then I drove home to AIDS, the empty passenger seat heavier than any load I'd ever carried. The first month was the hardest. Phone calls were scheduled, 15 minutes twice a week. His voice sounded thin at first, raw from group sessions, hoarse from crying in rooms full of strangers. He talked about triggers, the itch for a bet when the market dipped, the shame spiral when he remembered the gas can in his trunk, the nights he dreamed of flames and woke gasping. I listened. Mostly I listened. When he asked, "Do you still believe in me?" I answered the same way every time. Always have. Always will. Ade let me stay as long as I needed. I paid rent, insisted on it, and helped with his landscaping business on weekends, hauling mulch, planting spring bulbs in frozen ground. Physical work steadied me. At night, I sketched house plans on graph paper. A new build on the same lot, single story with wide hallways for aging knees, a wraparound porch twice the size of the old one, a rose garden replanted in Grace's honor. I filed the insurance claim quietly. The payout would cover most of it. The rest? Savings I'd kept hidden even from Jackson. Not for secrecy, for safety. Week 6, Jackson called sounding different, clearer, lighter. "They're starting me on the 12-step program," he said. "Step 4, fearless moral inventory. I wrote 8 pages about you. About Mom. About how I let fear turn me into someone I didn't recognize." I swallowed. "What did you write?" "That I was angry at the world for making you fight so hard, and I took it out on you. That I envied your strength, but resented the cost. That I wanted the money without the meaning behind it. And that the night I almost lit the match, I was more scared of becoming you. Tired, stubborn, unbreakable, than I was of losing everything." Silence on the line. "Then I wrote that I'm grateful," he continued. "Grateful you never gave up. Grateful the fire took the house instead of you. Grateful I got caught before I did something I couldn't undo." My eyes burned. "I'm proud of you, son." He laughed, soft, surprised. "I'm starting to believe that might be true." By month 3, the court date arrived. Jackson testified in a small courtroom downtown. Plain wood benches, fluorescent lights, no cameras. He wore a simple gray suit I'd bought him, tie knotted the way Grace had taught him. I sat in the gallery beside Ade. When called, Jackson stood straight, voice steady. "I enabled the people who did this," he said. "My gambling created the debt. My silence let the threats grow. I considered, seriously considered, setting the fire myself. I stood outside my father's house with gasoline in my trunk and thought about it. But I didn't. And because I didn't speak up sooner, someone else did it for me. I take responsibility for my part. I'm in recovery. I'm making amends. And I'll spend the rest of my life making sure no one else has to lose their home because of my mistakes." The judge watched him closely. When the prosecutor asked why he was testifying without immunity guarantees, Jackson answered simply, "Because it's the truth. And my father taught me that truth matters more than shortcuts." The judge sentenced Reed to 15 years, Malinowski to 8. Jackson walked out of the courtroom a free man, not legally charged, but emotionally unburdened for the first time in years. That evening we celebrated quietly at AIDS. Takeout jollof rice, plantains, a bottle of sparkling cider. Jackson raised his glass. "To starting over," he said that I clinked mine against his. "To never stopping." 2 weeks later, Jackson moved into AID's spare room. He started at ZAHA Enterprises the next Monday, not in an office, but on a site in Bronzeville. Hard hat, steel-toe boots, learning rebar from the ground up. The foreman, men who'd worked for me since the basement days, didn't go easy. They made him carry lumber, mix concrete, sweep up at end of day. He came home sore, blistered, smiling. "Feels good," he told me one night over dinner. "Like I'm building something real." "You are," I said. Spring arrived slow but sure. The insurance money cleared. I broke ground on the new house in April. Same lot, same address, new foundation. Jackson helped pour the slab, his hands in the wet concrete beside mine. We pressed our palms in side by side, then signed our names below, Mr. ZAHA and Jackson ZAHA, April 2026. The foreman snapped a photo. I framed it later, hung it in the future living room. By summer the frame was up, roof on, windows in. Jackson moved into the guest suite at the new place before the paint dried. insisted on paying rent until he could afford his own apartment again. I didn't argue. Boundaries were part of the healing point. One Saturday in July, we planted the rose garden. Grace's favorites: Peace, Mr. Lincoln, Queen Elizabeth. Jackson knelt in the dirt, gloves on, digging careful holes. Mom would have loved this, he said. She does, I answered. She's watching. He looked up, eyes shining. I talk to her sometimes. In group. During meditation. I tell her I'm sorry. I tell her I'm trying. I placed a hand on his shoulder. She knows. We finished planting as the sun set over the lake, orange and pink bleeding across the skyline. Jackson stood back, wiping sweat from his brow. It's beautiful, Dad. It's home, I corrected gently. That Christmas we hosted at the new house, first holiday under the new roof. Ade came, cousins from Atlanta, a few foremen and their families. The dining table was new but set with Grace's salvaged china, cleaned, polished, no longer blackened. Jackson cooked the turkey, his first attempt. It came out perfect. After dinner, he stood and tapped his glass. I have something, he said. He pulled a small velvet box from his pocket. Inside, a new gold chain with Grace's ring threaded through it. I had it cleaned, he said. Thought you might wear it. Or if you want, I can keep it safe until I have kids someday, so they know their grandmother. I took the chain, slipped it over my head. The ring rested warm against my chest. Thank you, son. He hugged me, long, unhurried. Later, when guests had gone and the house quieted, we sat on the new porch, wider, sturdier, rocking chairs facing the street. Snow threatened again, but the air still held summer's memory. Jackson broke the silence first. I got promoted last week, he said. Assistant project manager. Nothing flashy, but I earned it. I smiled. I know. Foreman told me. He laughed softly. Of course he did. A pause, Dad. I'm thinking about asking Maria out. The scheduler on the Bronzeville job. She's kind, smart, doesn't care about my past. I looked at him, really looked. The lines around his eyes were softer now, the hardness gone. Then ask her, I said, and bring her to dinner soon. He nodded. I will. We sat another hour, watching headlights move along the street, listening to distant trains. The house creaked behind us, settling into its new bones. I almost lost this, Jackson whispered. All of it. You didn't, I answered. Because you came back. He reached over, squeezed my hand. Because you waited. I squeezed back. The porch light glowed warm against the night, same as the old one, left on every evening. Waiting, months turned to a year. Jackson proposed to Maria on the new porch at sunset, rose garden blooming behind them. She said yes. They married the following spring, small ceremony at a lakeside chapel, me walking her down the aisle when her father couldn't. Jackson wore Grace's ring on a chain under his shirt. I stood beside him as best man, heart so full it ached. 2 years after the fire, Maria gave birth to a girl. They named her Grace ZAHA. Tiny fingers wrapped around mine in the hospital room. Dark eyes already curious. Welcome, little one, I whispered. Your name means radiance. And love. We're them both. Jackson watched from the bedside, tears unashamed. Thank you, he said to me. For everything. I kissed his forehead, then Maria's, then baby Grace's. Thank you, I answered, for coming home. Years later, though it felt like yesterday, we stood on that same rebuilt rooftop, the first ZAHA high-rise, now 30 years old, but still standing proud. Jackson carried his daughter on his shoulders. Maria stood beside me, hand in mine. Little Grace threw her arms wide, hard hat slipping over her eyes. ZAHA, she shouted, voice high and fearless. ZAHA, ZAHA. The city stretched below, changed, scarred, radiant. That I looked at my son, steady now, eyes clear, hands calloused from honest work. He looked back. We made it, he said quietly. I smiled. We did. And in that moment, grandfather, father, daughter, name echoing across the skyline, I knew. The fire had taken a house, but it had given us something unbreakable, radiance reborn, stronger, forevered. If this long journey, from ashes of betrayal to the warmth of rebuilt love, from a father's quiet wait to a family's new dawn, moved you deeply, comment your thoughts below with home. If you believe no loss is ever final when love refuses to let go, or share the name, the moment, the person who came back to you when all seemed lost. Thank you so much for watching my story all the way to the end. Your support means everything. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel and drop a comment below. I'd love to hear your thoughts.